And let's start off talking about the coaching staff at Tottenham Hotspur. As you know, Sim gave you an update about it on the weekend, but there has been further developments. So Tottenham's Director of Performance Services, Adam Brett, and Head of Sports Science, Nick Davis, have both left the club. They've only been in their roles for 1 year. And Paul O'Keefe says that the now departed Director of Performance Services, Adam Brett, went on holiday mid-season last year, 24-25, during our worst ever injury crisis. And it was his first year in the job. Like, have you ever heard anything more crazy than that?
Literally, all hands on deck. Everyone was probably literally running around the place, going crazy. The place is on fire. He's like, yeah, I need a break. I need a break from this. Yeah, you get yourselves fit, lads. Which is madness to hear that that kind of what we were dealing with internally. Which makes me think. We saw this. Matt Law was on last word on Spurs. I wonder if this is some of the stuff he was alluding to, because he said he was talking about obviously and sacking, and he said he had to deal with some stuff internally which if people knew about, it would blow their minds. He said, I wonder if this is part of that.
It could very well be, because like that is just preposterous, man. It really is. Like he's the director of the performance services, and half the squad is injured, and he's just like, yeah, I'm going as well, mate. I can't be asked for this.
Madness, absolute madness. Well, in that case, good riddance. And obviously,
that's got to be Scott Munn's guys, right?
Yeah, and we know about obviously the problems we had with the medical team last season, but it's mad that. I think we're poaching a lot of them from Brentford now. Yeah. I think we'll get into that. But yeah, so some of the coaches have left. And we've been told about a big shake-up, and I think we're starting to see it.
Yeah, definitely starting to see it. Jay Harris from The Athletic says that Tom Perryman has joined Tottenham from Brentford as the strength and conditioning coach. Nick Stubbings has also left Brentford to become medical lead at Spurs. So the actual number of staff now that have followed Thomas Frank from Brentford to Tottenham is 5. So
5 is mental. It's a proper stripping off.
We've proper guided them. We've proper guided them.
Madness.
So the only one pretty much that we didn't take is the guy that's now manager, who was the set piece coach last season. So Justin Cochrane, who's first team assistant coach, Chris Howsam, who's head of performance and first team assistant coach, Andreas Jorgensen, who's first team assistant coach, Joe Newton, who's now first team coach analyst, Matt Wells, who's stayed on as first team assistant coach, Cameron Campbell is the first team individual development coach, Fabian Otte, who's the first team goalkeeper coach, Tom Perryman, who we just spoke about, is strength and conditioning coach, and Nick Stubbings, medical lead coach. So that is the team that is heading up the new look Spurs coaching staff under Thomas Frank. Which is really interesting to me is the club have now promoted Stuart Lewis from under-18s head coach to first team academy transition coach, which is a brand new role within the club. And I think that is something that we've needed desperately for so long. That kind of pathway from the academy to the first team has been missing. There's been something broken there. And I think having someone overseeing that, and someone that knows the academy so well in the under-18s coach who's won like 2 or 3 titles in the last 2 or 3 years, I think it's brilliant.
100%. And I think now's the time to bring in that kind of role, because we've got unbelievable amounts of talent. I think the club are looking at the situation, and I think especially the hierarchy, I reckon they're looking at it, they're like, we got so much talent right now. Donnelly, Lancashire, wherever I can go on, the list is endless. We've got so much Mikey Moore, so much unbelievable talent. Like, how can we get these guys into the first team more regularly? How can we transition them? How can we make use of them? Because right now, we just haven't been able to make the most out of that talent, especially in years gone by. We've let players go, and things haven't gone right when it comes to transitioning a lot of our talent into the first team. I think they're looking at the situation now like, we can't waste this. We can't. We have to try our best to integrate them as best as possible. And if that means literally having a new role in our coaching style, which is solely focused on getting these players integrated in the first team, then that needs to be done, because I think that's something that's been neglected for so long. But I also do wonder whether that's happening, but as well is how can you've got this role in the team, and we've got so much talent. How do you juxtapose that with getting the squad to a level which is competitive and getting signings through the door and all this kind of stuff, because we've got such an unbelievable amount of talent that, as I've said before, if you're taking the decision, we need to integrate them like we really believe in them, there has to be some tough decisions made. Do you trust them or do you not? And if you do trust them, then sometimes you have to make a tough decision. Okay, we're not going to sign a player in that position. We're going to trust these players. And it's going to be very difficult to decide how we kind of go along with that if we're making a conscious decision to integrate certain members into the first team.
Yeah, and it'll be an interesting way to see which way they do approach it. And I do expect to see a lot more kind of academy players get minutes next season. I'm not saying they're going to be starting week in, week out, but maybe the likes of Jamie Donnelly will stay around, and the ones that are really ready for men's football, you'll see them get significant game time next season. But yeah, it'll be hard. It's hard to know like how they're actually going to manage it, but having a specific role for it shows that they're coming up with some sort of plan.
Yeah, that's really encouraging. At least they're acknowledging there's an issue here in terms of integrating these players into the first team and getting them more minutes, and we want to fix that issue. And right now is the time to do it, 100% with all the talent we have. So I'm very happy with that. But yeah, as you say, Brentford gutting their coaching staff, or 5 members of their coaching staff.
Plus their manager.
I mean, that is... that's got to be a bad one to take for Brentford. But I don't know how we look at it. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, it's a good thing. I guess Frank has all his people around him, but then we're literally just taking all the Brentford coaching staff. Like, are we just Brentford? Like, can we not get higher quality people than Brentford can get?
Well, I think it's definitely a massive step up to what we had last year. I mean, we had unexperienced coaches in Mile Jedinak and the guys that were on the coaching team last year. Now you're looking at Justin Cochrane, who's got a massive future ahead of him in terms of coaching. He's a very highly rated coach. You've got Matt Wells as well, who's very highly rated. And I think the coaching staff at Brentford, obviously Thomas Frank knows them very well, has worked with them for a number of years now, and he trusts them. So I think the job that they did at Brentford was absolutely phenomenal. He punched above his weight for Brentford for so long. And I assume that that's the plan to do at Tottenham.
No, of course. I'm just saying we're literally taking everyone from Brentford.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brentford are, even with their coaching staff, they're running on a budget. Let's say the sports science people, all this kind of stuff. They might be the best in class. I've got no idea. Maybe they are amazing. But was the plan to literally just turn our whole coaching staff into the whole Brentford coaching staff? Or was it, well, clearly it was, but is that what we want to see? Or do we want Frank to come in with a few trusted people and also with a bigger budget to get the best in class in everywhere? I don't know.
What we want is the manager to come in and to believe in his methods and go in the direction that Frank wants to go in. And if he believes that these guys are the right guys to take the club forward, and he trusts them, he's worked with them before, and he's done a really good job with them before, then that's the way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no problem with it. It's just interesting that we're turning everything into Brentford, essentially.
Yeah.
But we haven't signed any players yet. But yeah, that's got to be the main thing, which you want to be improvement on, where the budget should go.
But you look at it like Pochettino. Like, when we got Pochettino, we brought all his staff pretty much from Southampton as well.
I think we brought 2, didn't we? Just him and
No, it wasn't just 2. There was some coaches behind the scenes as well. His sons came along from Southampton. There was some more guys behind the scenes. So it wasn't just the 2 that we saw on the bench all the time. There was a few more than that. So, coaches have their team. And it's not just maybe the assistant coaches, but all the medical science and everything surrounding it, They just have a team that they trust. And I think that's the same here with Frank.
Yeah, fair.
Let's move on and let's talk about another confirmed deal from Tottenham Hotspur today, and that is Alejo Veliz has joined Rosario Central on loan for the campaign 25-26. They say good luck, Alejo. Alistair Gold says that it is going to be a straight loan that contains no obligation, no option to sign him permanently. Is expected to have a recall option for Veliz in January should the club want him back or have an offer to sell him in January.
Yeah, which is interesting. I doubt we're going to want him to come in and
It'll
play.
be more for a sale, won't it?
Yeah, I would probably think that. But yeah, good luck to him. We've said it. We've been talking about this before. We was actually videoed in training yesterday, interestingly enough, and this deal looks like it's got over the line very quickly. I think a straight loan It's probably not what Tottenham wanted. I think we probably wanted something more permanent, but looks like there wasn't many suited for that. So I guess his Tottenham career lives to fight another day when it's only a loan deal. So we'll see how he gets on. Obviously, back with home comforts where he kind of burst onto the scene. So hopefully this kind of gives him that confidence boost he needs where his career has really been stagnating and he can get back to, you know, how he was a couple of years ago when he was performing really well for them. So good luck to him. We'll wait and see whether he's made his last appearance in the Tottenham shirt or not. But
I'm pretty sure he has.
You never know. Yeah, probably, but you never know. Football's a funny old game. You think,
a funny old game.
Yeah, things can change. So if he smashes it out, maybe he'll come back. You never know.
Maybe.
But good luck to him, and yeah, wish him all the best.
Be lining up against Angel Di Maria for the first half of next season, who's also joined Rosario Central, but he has gone back to where he came from, and this smells very much like the Brian Hill saga, doesn't it? Like Brian Hill, we brought him in with that stupid deal with Eric Lamela, 20 million plus Lamela, and then he ended up back at his old club with a loans free of no obligation or no option, and Veliz has done exactly the same.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Let's talk about Cristian Romero now. As Alistair Gold says that Tottenham have not received a new or recent bid for Cristian Romero. He is expected back at pre-season at Hotspur Way later this week. Thomas Frank is understood to be excited about working with Romero and wants him in his backline this season. But a journalist out in Argentina, David Medina, says that Atletico Madrid will not meet Tottenham's current asking price of 70 million euros. Atletico is hoping that Romero's desire to join the club will impose itself and that he will force Spurs to lower his demands. I mean, in terms of Ali Gold's update, I mean, it's very obvious. I mean, it's expected that the line coming out of Tottenham and the club is going to be like, Frank is excited to work with him, and you know, there's no chance of it, but there's no bid, there's no negotiations, no nothing right now. Where the reports out of Argentina have always been that Atletico and Spurs are quite close or getting closer. Well, this one doesn't say that. It'll just say Atletico will not meet Spurs' demands.
I think it's all a bit of posturing when it comes to all this in the media. I think there'll have to be some compromise on both ends. I think when it says they're not going to come to Tottenham's demands for 70 million, but you don't know what that really means. Does that mean they only want 70 million in straight cash, but they're willing to go there with add-ons and they're willing to meet that? Or does it mean they're not willing to go to 70 million in a total figure? Are Tottenham willing to accept 70 million in a total figure, or do they want 70 million include add-ons? Who knows what the truth is? I think there's always a lot of kind of posturing with these reports. You don't really know. It's all about the key details when it comes to these deals. But I reckon there'll be some compromise. I think the big element here for me is that Romero has got 2 years left on his deal. He's unlikely to sign. And in those situations, Tottenham will, I think, compromise a bit when it comes to selling. I'm not saying they'll agree a ridiculously low fee. Of course not. But I think if Atletico could get close to, if Tottenham are demanding 70 million euros, if Atletico get close in a straight cash deal to like 60 million and then 10 million in realistic add-ons, or even 65 and 5 million, something like that, or even close 60 and 5 million in add-ons which are realistic, I think Tottenham will compromise on that. I don't think they're going to not sell him for the sake of 5 million when he's got 2 years left. That's the feeling I get, especially given the fact Romero wants to go. And he wants to go to Spain and Atletico Madrid. So I think that plays a heavy factor in it as well. So I think there will be an agreement done. But I think obviously right now, while there's negotiations, you're going to hear conflicting things. You're going to hear the Spurs side saying they're nowhere near the price. You're going to hear Atletico putting pressure on Tottenham and getting Romero, giving him itchy feet by saying, oh, the deal's close, you just got to give him a nudge. You're going to hear both sides. So it's hard to obviously know where the truth is. Probably the truth lies somewhere in the middle, as usually things do. But I reckon, I don't know when it will be, if it will be a while or be soon, but I reckon there'll be a compromise on both sides.
I've got a feeling that maybe Atletico at this moment in time might be like, you know what, screw this. We know his contract's running down. We know he wants to join at some point. Maybe they just wait a year and wait for him to go for 1 year left, and maybe they can get the price that they want at that point.
They could, but they're also risking other players coming into the party with 1 year left, and you don't know. Right now, it seems as though Madrid have just signed Hyson, so they're not really looking for it. And I don't know how much money Barca have to spend, all these different things. Right now, Atletico seem to have a bit of a clear run due to circumstance. But will that be the same situation in a year's time? I think you're running that risk, and I think Atletico really want him. Why wait? They want him now. I don't know if they're willing to wait a year. Maybe they will. I mean, I think they'll prefer to have him now if I was
Obviously,
them.
they'd prefer to have him now, but I'm saying that the negotiations with Tottenham and Daniel Levy, which can be like getting blood out of the stone, might just, the way they might be thinking is, look, it's just going to be so much easier to negotiate with them next year, and we can actually get him for the price that we want to pay.
You're also risking him signing a new deal.
Yeah, that's also true.
You never know how he gets on with Frank. Maybe they have a match made in heaven and his mindset completely changes. You're also risking that. Right now, there's an opportunity.
Look, I'm not saying there's no risk, but I'm just saying that the negotiations will just be a lot easier if it does get to that point.
Yeah, I'd agree. But I wouldn't. If I was Atletico, I wouldn't risk it.
Yeah. But look, we'll have to wait and see how it goes. If he does join Atletico, I do feel it's going to be like a last week of the window job. I think this one's going to rumble on for quite some time. But we'll see how it progresses. But at this moment in time, Ali Gold is saying that no new bid has gone in for Cristian Romero. In other news, Tottenham are in conversations to acquire Juventus forward Dusan Vlahovic, who is expected to be available for £13 million.
Is that it?
Vlahovic scored 17 goals and provided 5 assists in all competition last season, and is one of several players Juve are looking to offload as he enters the final year of his contract.
Yeah, I don't really believe that report. I don't believe Tottenham. He's on monster wages, isn't he?
Yeah, 325.
Yeah, we're not. No chance. No chance we give him anywhere near that.
I don't think anyone gives him anywhere near that. To be honest.
I think he's probably, that's the worry you have when you put a player on that contract, is that you can't shift them because they're refusing to take a pay cut unless you subsidise the wages. I haven't been that impressed with him, to be honest, at Juve. I think he started off quite well, but for one reason or another, it just hasn't gone quite right. They've been looking to ship him for a while, to be honest, it seems, for like at least a year. So
He still gets goals, though.
he does get goals, to be fair. I don't think he's a bad player. Don't get me wrong.
He's still only 25 as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't. I'm not that bothered about getting him in or not. I think it's one of those where I think that he's got a lot of qualities. He's got a very good left foot. I really like his left foot, and physically he's decent, but he does miss a lot of chances. And I feel like for Juve, it just hasn't. He's never really hit the ground running. But then again, it's hard to judge because Juve have been a bit of a mess for the past few years. So a lot of good players have kind of been and gone there, and not got, it hasn't gone right for a lot of them. But yeah, I'm not convinced he's like a top
Wasn't exactly
striker.
going right for Decky at Juventus in the last year before we bought him as well. And he's come here and he's one of the fan favourites.
Mm-hmm. Look, yeah, there's always also that situation. You never know.
But he's scored he's been at Juventus for 4 years now, right? In his first year, his goal return was pretty poor, but for 3 years after that, he's got double digits of goals in the last 3 years. I think that's a pretty decent return.
It's okay. And what's double digits like? Is it 20, 10?
No, the highest he's got in the La Liga is 16.
In Serie A.
Yeah, in Serie A.
16. I mean, that's okay. It's not like amazing. Yeah, it's good. That's a decent return. It's not like outstanding. I wouldn't pay massive wages for that.
No. They signed him for 80 million.
Yes, it was mad. So
He's not been worth 80 million, but I do think
very
Vlahovic,
high sought after.
I really believe Vlahovic, there's definitely a lot of value there, and I think he can be a very good player if he gets his head right and gets into a team that plays to his strengths and everything like that. Like you said, Juventus have been an absolute shit show for the last 2 or 3 years. I just can't see... I can't look at any Juventus player and being like, look, you've been a standout player for the last 3 years. Maybe Yildiz. That's about it. Like, who out of Juventus can you tell me has been absolute standout?
I'm looking as well. He does every year seem to underperform his expected goals, which tells me his finishing is not good. Which is interesting because at Fiorentina he overperformed them by quite a bit, but at Juve he's been quite badly underperforming him. So his finishing's gone downhill for some reason by quite significant.
Yeah. They've just got Jonathan David in as well. So that's another reason why he's fallen a bit further behind the pecking order. I do believe he's a very good player. And I think at 13 million, if that report is true and we can agree some sort of wages with him, I do think there's some sort of value there if like we bring in a Vlahovic to replace a Richarlison. But
I just feel like he
I
would
just
flop.
can't see it happening.
I feel like he would flop. I just get that feeling. It's just classic flop kind of material.
I think he'll do well. I think he'll prove a lot of people wrong. But look, that is Vlahovic. Matt Law is saying that Tottenham have discussed internally a move for Kyle Walker-Peters, but the current belief, however, is that a deal will not be pursued, which is very interesting. Are they going to go in for Dennis Serkin, or are they just going to go with a man down in the squad?
Yeah, that's the reality. I was just assuming, Walker-Peters just makes so much sense. But if they really think it's not worth doing, it's worth having a man down there having Walker-Peters, and that's the decision they got to make. But it's interesting. I read a report in the Athletic saying Tottenham are exploring a left back in the window, which I just don't understand where we're fitting everyone in. It just doesn't make sense to me. So if it's not going to be Kyle Walker-Peters, if we are going to sign left back, does that mean we're not signing a midfielder or we're not signing a forward? Because we can't sign everyone. We have to make a decision there if that's what we're going to do. I wouldn't prioritise a left back when we have the players that we do have. I'd rather keep Davis, to be honest, and prioritise a centre back or a forward, than go out in the market and sign a left back with what we have in the squad. So. And I'd definitely rather bring Kyle Walker-Peters in to play backup than do that. But if they're not going to pursue it, I just wonder how they're going to manage this whole situation. Again, it's just we're in a very precarious situation right now. We've been through it on video many, many times. We've exacerbated it now with Kota staying. There's now even rumours of Son staying, which I've got, again, no problem with, but it does cause issues within the team and within the squad planning. We did a video a few weeks ago assuming that Davis, no Kota, and Son, Davis and Son were leaving. Kota wasn't coming. We didn't assume that, right?
Basuma
Richarlison. And at that point, we needed to sell 2 players, and then it's sell to buy. Then Kota's comes in, which makes it 3 players we need to sell before just to meet the numbers. So you have to look at the squad now. 3 players have to leave.
Solomon and people like that.
Yeah. So right now you're looking at the top. 3 players have to leave just to fit the Champions League squad. So after 3. So if you want to sign 2 players, we need to sell 5.
Yeah,
we need to sell 5. It's madness. Who's the 5 players we're selling right now? I don't know how it's going to work. I really don't.
Yeah,
it's maddening.
And last but not least, we're going to talk about Ademola Lookman, as there's a report that says Tottenham are one of 3 Premier League sides interested in Lookman. 27-year-old, outstanding 24-25 campaign, which saw him score 15 goals, provide 5 assists, has not gone unnoticed back in England. Lookman is of interest of both Forest and Villa as well, as his future in Bergamo looks to be in doubt. Premier League sides willing to fight for him. The Serie A club are open to accepting offers in the region of 38.7 to 51.6 million pounds. So Lookman's future did look in serious doubt, didn't it, when he had that whole thing with Gasperini last year. Obviously, Gasperini's gone now. So maybe he is more willing to stay at Atalanta. I do believe there's an issue with the contract. Has he got 1 more year or something?
Got 2 more years.
2 more years. So it's still a fair amount on it. But, 1 more year, and then they look to probably decrease that price quite heavily. But he's had an unbelievable year at Atalanta. Unbelievable couple of years, I think. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, ever since he's gone there, I think he's been there 3 years now, and each season he's getting regular goal contributions. Obviously scored a hat-trick in the Europa League final against Leverkusen a year ago, which was one of the best probably final performances we've seen in a European final, especially the level of goals he scored on that day. He's really come into his own out in Italy. He's really found a home there, and he's become a real quality top level I think more of an inside forward. He gets regular goal contributions, such a great finisher. Very similar to, he does remind me a bit of someone like Son, who's very good at finding those angles, very good at shooting from distances, good finisher. Not like the most unbelievable dribbler, but he's good and physical enough. He can get away from opponents, and once he gets in position, he's can be quite ruthless in that finish. So I think there's definitely a very good player there. I would say probably with the wingers we have, he's of quite a similar profile to a Tel and a Son. So I don't know if it makes sense to bring him in as a winger for us. I think we probably want someone a bit different if we're signing a left winger again. And as well, I'd rather bring in a right winger. He's not really one who to play on the right. Much more plays on the left. So I doubt we're really seriously interested, to be honest.
Yeah. 27 years of age as well. I did think he was a bit younger than that. If he's coming in at 27, he's probably looking to come in and start it and commanding, a starting role, unlike Tell, who'd be happy with like maybe squad rotation. And if Son is staying,
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it only makes sense if he's leaving, really.
Yeah. But look, that is it from us in terms of a Tottenham update. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding all the news stories we brought to you today. Hopefully we get some more news as the day progresses.